some bad plan. You can say I have a plan that doesn't provide any benefit. That's not going to work. In this, and I think this is potentially an area where self-funded plans have some advantage, that if an employer had some type of grandfather plan and the benefits were lower than these benefits that will have to be offered in the fully insured plan, they'll be allowed to continue to offer that, and that will meet the requirements. Obviously, this is going to be key. If you're going to go down the road and say, I'm going to offer benefits to avoid the penalty, well, then clearly you're going to offer something that meets this minimum essential coverage. If not, why would you do that? If not, you're going to be back in a situation where you're paying the $2,000 penalty. We do a lot of work where we've used higher deductibles with health reimbursement accounts. They've probably got to figure out some value equation, because effectively you've got some self-funding going on there. And HRAs are different, whether the employer pays first on the deductible or the employee pays first. We do a lot of what we call shared responsibility, where if there's a $2,000 deductible, it may be shared 50-50. Somehow that's going to have to be a value assigned to that to make sure that in total, the combination of the traditional plan and the self-funding piece you've plugged into it meet those minimum essential coverage tests.
They haven't told you what that is at this point?
No. This set of rules is more interesting. I tried reading these and I'm like, I've been doing this for a long time and I don't even understand what you're saying. They're bizarre. Everyone took this to mean that the employer had to pay 60% of the premium. It's not the case. It's just the plan, what the employee has to pay can't be more in a total benefit structure. Somehow you'd have to evaluate some average usage of the plan, and the employee has got, the plan's got to pay at least 60% of that. The assumption is that right now, the large group plans out there, 80% will have met that requirement. In smaller group plans, 70%. High deductible health plans, again, depending on if there's some subsidy coming in from the employer. If you have an HSA compatible plan and you're getting some employer funding into the HSA, obviously that will go in to determine whether there's enough minimum value there. They're talking about some type of calculator. This checklist, I'm guessing, is, do you have a deductible that's less than X? Do you provide vision benefits? Do you provide this, that? A lot of stuff to be created and thought about there. Actuarial certification, I can't imagine that how many lives would you have to be to want to pay some actuary $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 to do some value calculation of your plan. So I'm not sure in the small and mid, in our size universe that we're working in, that we'll see a lot of the middle one. It'll be interesting to see what goes into the calculator. You just answer some questions and it says you pass or you don't pass. Probably won't tell you why. But they could potentially fail on your test, but there could be spousal income that would cause them not to get a subsidy, so it wouldn't matter. So, like, some of this stuff overlaps in very odd ways. And to say once you start doing testing on some groups, you uncover a lot of stuff that you didn't realize. They also have this rate of pay, safe harbor. Again, you hire someone mid-year, you don't have a W-2 for the whole year, so you can use a rate of pay. 130 hours a month times their hourly rate. If their share of the premium doesn't exceed that, then you would be fine doing that. Salaried employees, you can do something to convert it to a monthly basis, but you're not allowed to be discriminatory. You can find ways where people get paid a lot in certain periods, and they don't want you to do averaging that effectively reduces their hours and causes them not to be covered. Again, this gets back to kind of the nuclear penalty, that you've got to offer coverage, and it can't be our open enrollment's going to be one day, in Minneapolis at 2 in the morning, and it's 4 below zero. That's probably not going to meet the requirement of an offer of coverage. You put it out in Chinese or something, and no one understands it. Some rules relative to COBRA. Giving people grace periods and stuff if they've not made their, if I offer somebody coverage and they don't make their employee contribution component of it, then I can drop the coverage, but they do get a grace period and stuff to do that. And you get, again, all kind of different work rules. If you have tipped employees, sometimes tipped employees don't have enough regular wages to actually pay their contributions, so they have to pay it independently back to the employer. So you get some room there. This was a very interesting provision. Under the law, as it was written, if you missed one person, one lousy person, that nuclear penalty could apply to you. So Treasury, and I'm sure this is subject to great debate inside there, because this has the form of Treasury making law, and everyone always gets bent out of shape when they exceed what the statute required and they're actually writing law themselves. But they came up with that covering everyone, this term substantially all, that they're going to give you a 5% cushion, or if you're a small employer, 5 employees that you could miss and not invoke the nuclear penalty. So that's an interesting situation there. I got a call this morning from a client that's over the 50 lives, and the owner pays his housekeeper through his company. Now, he reimburses them for it, but the question is, now am I going to have this person on my plan? And I'm thinking, you know, this may be a way for me to have an out, this 5-employee thing, but I'm not sure you're allowed to design to use it, or if it's just there that if you mess up, it's your kind of catch-all. So that was nice, because really, if you think about, you know, a very large employer, you know, thousands and thousands of employees, you tell me that they're not going to make a mistake and miss somebody and potentially, and lawyers love that stuff, you know, they go, oh, we can go in and sue, you know, Amazon or something for this huge penalty. So that was, I think, a very welcome piece of relief. Whether it's usable ultimately as a design tool to keep out maybe 5% of your workforce, as somehow you have this small group, I don't know that for sure. I probably need to either think about that more or see what other additional guidance comes out as we go down the line. Okay, aggregation rules. This was interesting too, because again, many employers are multiple different employers. So to determine if you're a big employer, you add up all the people in the control group. I got 5 different companies, they got the same ownership, I got 1 corporation, I'm a large employer. When it comes time to determine the penalties, you now crack them back into individual employers again. Which, as I thought about this the last couple of days, there's a whole myriad of problems with that. Sometimes people get paid all through one